happiness through curiosity on TRS Clips.
What did Vimalananda say about the rituals related to eating the flesh? Are they very high level rituals? Eating the flesh off of dead bodies?
Well, it's a high level. There should be a reason to do it, because you have to understand that if you were eating, there's one thing about eating the flesh of a dead body, and that is just to make you go beyond disgust. But you also have to remember that if you're eating the flesh of that dead body, you're taking on some of the karmas of the body. Just as you eat anything, you eat a plant, you're taking on some of the karmas of the plant. You eat meat, you're taking some of the karmas of the animal. You drink milk, you're taking some of the karmas of the cow or the goat or whatever it is. So there should be, and sometimes it's sometimes you might, and he never told me to do that, so I have not done that. Though I do remember that the one person that I was cremating, who was the first person that acted as a guru to me before I met Vimalananda, he lived in Hyderabad, but he happened to die in Bombay the day I arrived in Bombay, and so I cremated him. And while I was cremating him, his skull burst open, and I got sprayed with his blood. So I was not trying to consume his blood or flesh or whatever, but it came in my direction anyway. So that's always the better way to do things, rather than saying, now I am a great Aghori, I'm going to eat the brain of this person. You eat the brain of that person, you're taking on some of the karmas of that person. Will you be able to digest them? That's the question.
But what does it do to you spiritually other than taking on their karmas and getting you past disgust?
Well, it's a kind of intoxicant also.
Really?
Intoxicant means what? I mean, some intoxicants are obvious, like alcohol. You drink or you smoke ganja. You will very quickly feel a result. You eat bhang, it'll take an hour and a half, and then you'll feel the result. Some intoxicants, it will take longer to feel the result. I decided to experiment once with harital basma. Harital means arsenic trisulfide. And arsenic, it's a very good medicine. It's often used in Ayurveda when a person is very near death, but you need to keep them alive and functional for another few days. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. So I decided I need to know what it does. So I tried it for, I can't remember, 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something. And that is also a kind of nasha, because it makes you feel very strong. And after those 2 or 3 weeks, I started to realize, whoa, I'm only sleeping 4 hours and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I said to myself, this is too good. Anything that feels this good, there has to be some kind of, downside to it. So then I slowly weaned myself off of it without any negative. So now I know what harital will do. And if I get to the point where I need harital, I know how to take it and when to take it and so on. And there's so many things like that. Ayurveda is all about knowing guna. Guna means quality, attribute, characteristic. And guna of both karma means actions, what different actions will do, and substances, dravya. So if suppose you're eating human flesh, you have to understand that, like any kind of flesh, is a kind of intoxicant. You may not feel that it's an intoxicant, but it's affecting you in a particular way. Any kind of high protein thing is going to affect you in a particular way. It will, generally speaking, have a stimulating effect. How stimulating it's going to be is going to depend on what condition your liver is in. So if you have cirrhosis of the liver and you eat even 30 grams of red meat, you will go into a coma, because that meat it has all kinds of amino acids in them. And as it goes through the process of digestion, some of those are going to turn into monoamines, which are many of the neurotransmitters in the body are monoamines. But some of them are false neurotransmitters, and those the liver filters out. But if you have cirrhosis, your liver is not going to filter them out. And then they will compete with the other neurotransmitters, and you won't be able to maintain your higher consciousness functions. Okay, that's obvious if you have cirrhosis. But suppose your liver is just, it's not you haven't damaged it to that condition, but it's still very sluggish. And you have a lot of toxins in your body, and your liver is not doing the job that it should be doing. And you eat a lot of protein, not just meat, but also a lot of dal, or a lot of paneer, or a lot of whatever it is that's high in protein. That protein is going to create some of these neurotransmitters that won't act in the right way. And so your brain will not be thinking clearly, and your brain is always trying to predict what's going to come next. And if it's not thinking clearly, it's not going to predict accurately what's going to come next. And then you're going to be moving in the direction that is not the correct direction for you to be moving in.
What had Vimalananda said about his perspective on eating human flesh? Had you had this conversation with him? Because
Yes.
this is what the world knows about Aghoris.
Yes. He said that the useful thing to do to eat human flesh is if you know there is if you know you have the Rananubandhana with that person, that you need to eat that flesh for whatever reason.
What was the word you just used?
Rananubandhana. This is a word he was very fond of. Rana means debt, D-E-B-T, debt. So rana means, it could literally mean a debt, like you borrow money from somebody and you pay them back. But it also, in this context, it means a karmic debt. And anubandhana, bandha means a binding. So rananubandhana means a binding of karmic debt between two people. And what you're trying to do in this lifetime, we hope, is not create more binding for yourself, but to get rid of some of those bindings, to pay off the people you need to pay off, to let them pay you off. And you would think, well, if I owe that guy 100,000 rupees, I'll just give him 100,000 rupees and that will solve the problem. But usually it's not as simple as that. You may owe him 50,000 today. He may owe you 20,000 2 weeks from now. You may owe him 70,000 5 years from now. So it's not that you can necessarily just realize that, this is somebody I've got to deal with and I'm going to pay them off immediately. You have to try to get a clear perspective on what that relationship is with that person and how best to address it. So someone like Vimalananda had specialized in understanding Rananubandhana. The rest of us, we have to try to get a feeling for it. He had a much clearer perspective on it.
So the body he would consume would be in some way related to him?
Some way related. And that's what because he would say otherwise, yes. Suppose your guru says, I'm going to assign you the task of eating some of the flesh of everyone who comes to this cremation ground for the next 1 year. The guru has told you to do this. So whatever the karma is involved, the guru has told you to do it. So the guru is going to have to manage that karma because he or she told you to do it. That's number one. So automatically, only the people will come to that smashan in front of you for you to eat them if there is some connection between the two of you. Because how many people in the world? 7.5 billion, 8 billion? But you're not going to meet 8 billion. You're not going to meet 8 million. You may not meet 8,000 people in your lifetime. You're only going to meet the people that you have some connection with.
Did you ever ask him about the taste?
I don't think he ever ate pork, but if you talk to people who were in the past, people who were cannibals, they used to, like in the South Seas, they used to describe it as long pig, as tasting a lot like pork. So, when I was up until I was 20, I used to eat meat all the time, so I know what pork tastes like. And if you spend any time in a cremation ground, it will smell like barbecue. And so I have a clear idea of what it tastes like, even if I haven't eaten human flesh myself.
Are there Aghoris who can't get themselves to actually do that?
Probably.
Okay.
Though that would be, if there was someone, I don't want to, I don't want to speak theoretically, but I imagine if you had a guru and the guru knew that one of his or her disciples was reluctant to do that, that would probably be exactly what the guru told them to do. Because the whole point of Agora is going beyond that.
Okay.
If it was somebody who said, Guruji, I have come here to eat human brain, Guruji would probably say, forget the human brain, you need to go eat feces. It's something like whatever it is that is the thing that you most want to avoid is the thing you have to look at in Agora.
Feces consumption is a thing in Agora.
Yeah. Maybe at some point, for some person at some time.
Have you heard anything about it from Vimalananda?
Well, he said that the point of doing this is to be able to understand that, in particular, consuming your own feces. It is you. It has come out of you. And you, if you are serious about not discerning, not saying this is good and this is bad, then you need to at least be able to taste it and acknowledge that has come out of you. It is part of you.
Oh, wow. And okay, when you meditate or you pray, you have some sort of spiritual progress, and all these rituals in the world of Agora also lead to some form of spiritual progress.
Because you're still praying, you're still meditating, you're still reciting mantra, and your focus always should be that it is not you doing it. It is the deity acting through you.
There's a couple of questions I have. One's the obvious one about the health angle here. And I know a lot of listeners have that question when you're hearing things about eating feces and eating human flesh. There's got to be some health angle for the Aghoris.
Yes.
So what, does it affect health?
Well, it certainly can. But that's the whole point of it, is not to think that you're a great Aghori and to go start doing that, because that's you doing that. There's a big difference between you doing it and you being in a particular state where something else is doing it. And this is not anything, it used to be called multiple personality disorder. I think it's called dissociative integration disorder or something like that. But the point is that there are certain people who they have more than one personality. But in some of these personalities, like one personality will be allergic to something, literally allergic. They'll come out with hives or something, and another personality will not. Now, how can you explain that one way of organizing, you react to one substance, and another way of organizing, you react to something else? So, that's in just people who are very damaged, no doubt. But it's the same process if you have a different personality inhabiting you at a certain point, you can consume things that are ordinarily would not be good for you. But then you have to make sure that, in fact, it is that personality that's consuming it and not something else.
You need to have the Avesham activated.
Yes.
Which is the deity acting through you.
Yes.
Okay. The second question I have here is that I read a book, Aghori, by someone called Mayur Kalbag. It was a fictional take on Aghoris. What he kept highlighting was that Aghoris are not scary. It's actually very positive interacting with them. And the second thing he highlighted was that they're spiritually very, 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 very powerful. Amongst possibly the most spiritually powerful beings on this planet. What do you have to say anything about that?
I would certainly say that anyone who really seriously, genuinely follows the path of Agora is going to, even if they start off being very harsh, they're going to move in that, because that's the whole point of Agora. The point of Agora is not to remain in a state of being ugra, of being terrifying. The point is to digest that, to go beyond it, to get to a point where there is peace, where there is samatha, where there is even-handedness, equal-mindedness. In the Gita, it says that Krishna says the same thing, that a person who has really good equanimity, samatha, they will look at a saint, they will look at a dog, and they will look at someone who eats dogs, and they will look at them exactly the same. They will not say the saint is great, the dog is a dog, and the eater of dogs is a horrible person. They will say this is all the manifestation of reality. The karmas are manifesting in front of me. I see this, I see the saint, I see the eater of dogs, I see the dog, but ultimately it is all the play of the karmas, the play of Maya. And so it's the whole point of Agora is not to get stuck in that, not to get stuck in eating dogs. Some people eat dogs. But are you, if you, it's one thing to do it, your guru tells you to do it to the point where you become completely equanimous with that, then you don't need to do it anymore. If you get stuck with, oh my God, dog is very tasty, and I'm going to show everybody that I'm a dog eater, then you get stuck in that reality. There's no, Agora is not about being stuck. Agora is about de-sticking yourself from all of your attitudes and your disgust and the things you crave and both raga and dvesha.
So if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to TRS Clips for more.